Take one.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another Powerlab skills video. Today, Keegan and I will be going over the electromyography lab, also known as EMG. For this lab, we're going to need our Powerlab components that we always need. We're going to need our Powerlab box, our power cord for the box, and then also our USB connector. So I'm going to go ahead and connect those right now so we can continue the video. So one end of the USB connector goes into the box, while the other goes down into the computer on a USB slot on the front of the computer. Power cord goes into the back of the box in this black panel, and with its power switch next to it. And the power cords are on each side of the table. If you have powered up the box, you should see 3 lights on the front, and since we don't, that means we have to hit the switch next to the power cord. Now that we have done that, we can see that we have 3 lights on the front, meaning the box has been turned on. Also for this lab, we're going to need several other components out of the box. We're going to need our Powerlab lead connector, the actual leads to the connectors to the leads themselves, an earth strap, conductivity gel, the external stimulator, and then we're also going to need 6 electrodes for this component. So to start with, we're going to set up the leads. We're going to pull out our lead connector, and these go into the bioamp amplifier on the front of the box. That is this big black connector here, and it only goes in one way, so if the adapter does not fit in nicely, try another direction. So you're going to want to make sure this cable is uncoiled to make sure to resist any possible interference or static in the cable that we may receive during this experiment. So try and lay it out so it doesn't coil over itself or anything like that. So next what we're going to do is we're going to begin part 1 of this experiment, which is going to be the use of the EMG to track the muscle activation of a bicep and tricep. Now in this lab we're only using these 2 muscles, but this can be done with any muscle group on the body, and it can, as long as we put the electrodes over the proper muscle, we will get the proper readings. So first we're going to do is we're going to take out our leads here. It's going to be important that we connect all 5 of these today, unlike in our previous labs. And to help us out, it's all color coordinated. So we're just going to go ahead and plug in all of these into the appropriate colored spots. Similar to the bioamp amplifier, there's only one way that these can be connected, so if they do not fit, try twisting them around and putting them in the other way. So now for this next part of the experiment, we're going to we're going to start up the EMG program. So to do that, to find the settings file, we're going to go down here into the bottom left corner of the screen to the Windows tab, open that, and in the search box we're going to type in EMG settings. This will bring up all of our files, and the first 3 files are the ones we're going to be looking at. For the first part of this lab, we're going to look at the voluntary settings, and then for the second part, it's going to be the evoked. So we're going to go ahead and click on the voluntary settings. This is going to open up a dialog box that says it cannot open. Just hit OK, and our file will be here. So let's maximize this screen so you can see what's going on. And so here we see that channel 1 is the biceps, and channel 2 is the triceps. So, and that corresponds to the labeling on the EMG leads. So the next part of this lab is we're going to hook up Keegan to our Powerlab box. To do this, we're going to connect these EMG leads to the appropriate electrodes or the earth strap. So first we're going to connect Keegan to an earth strap so he doesn't get electrocuted in any way. So to do this, you're going to open up the gray earth strap, and on the inside there is a little adapter to it. You're going to connect the green lead to this. Then we're going to put it on our subject's wrist, that we're on the arm that we are actually performing the experiment on. Fuzzy side in. And I'm going to use your right arm, Keegan, today. So you're going to put that on his wrist, tight, not tightly, but snugly wrap it around so that it has good contact with the skin to make sure our subject is safe during this experiment. So for the following two, it does matter which leads we use, which ones go with which. So as our indicator says, the red and the brown are on their own channel, so that's going to have to go on one muscle, such as the bicep or the tricep together. And then for our other channel, being white and black, that will also have to go on the remaining muscle together. That you cannot go on opposites. Tips for putting on the EMG electrodes. It is more comfortable for your subject if you put the leads onto the electrodes first. That way you don't have to mash these into their skin or try and pinch them on. So what I'm going to do is go around on his right side, and I'm going to ask him to roll up his sleeve so I can gain access to these muscles easily and we don't have to fight around that. So first I'm going to connect hook up his bicep to the Powerlab system. To do this, you want to find the middle part of their muscle belly. And to do this on people that have a little bit lower musculature status, you want to ask them to flex slightly so that you can palpate that muscle and make sure you're in the middle so we can get the best reading. So since I can see Keegan's bicep, I'm just going to place one of the electrodes on the lower half of that muscle, and then I'm going to connect the other. I'm going to place the center of each of these connectors about 3 to 5 centimeters apart so that we can get the best signal. So now with that done, we have his bicep all hooked up to the Powerlab system. Next, we're going to connect his tricep in a very similar fashion as what we just did with the bicep. We're going to connect the leads to the electrodes before applying them, and then we're going to put them on the middle of his muscle belly of his tricep, just as we did with the bicep. You can get the subject's tricep to flex by asking them to perform elbow extension, and this will flex that muscle if you are having a hard time just seeing it. And that will allow you to palpate it as you are trying to find it. And then that last one will go, once again, 3 to 5 centimeters from a center to center of the electrodes. Cool. So now that we head back over to our Powerlab system on the computer, and we're going to first check our signal strengths and see if we have to do any corrections on it, so that we can make sure we get the readable signal. So first we're going to go over here to our drop-down menu for our biceps tab, and we're going to the bioamp selection. We're going to select that, and this is going to bring up a little box that we can see what our signal looks like. And since it is very small right now, we're going to ask you to perform elbow flexion, and we're hopefully going to see a deflection in this tab as we are. So as we can see, we have some signal that is going off of the screen. So we can ask our subject to relax at this point so that we can adjust this so that we can actually see the full thing. So to do that, we're going to go to our range tab, and since we're at 2 millivolts, we're going to bump it down to 1, and we're going to ask Keegan once again to perform some elbow flexion to see if we've corrected our problem. So since we went the wrong way, we see that more signal has gone off the screen. So we're actually going to, instead of decreasing the millivolts, we're going to increase it to 5. And then we're going to ask Keegan once again to perform elbow flexion. And now we can see that our signal only at maximum really only takes up 2/3 of the screen, so we are fine there. So we'll hit OK, and now our bicep tab is calibrated. So now we're going to do the same with the tricep to make sure that signal is readable as well. So we're going to go here to the tab, drop-down menu. We're going to hit bioamp. We're going to ask the subject to perform elbow extension so that we can flex that tricep and we can see our signal. As we can see, similar with the bicep, it is a little big, so we're going to decrease that so we can actually see the full signal on the screen. So that, once again, Keegan, can you perform a little extension for me? Excellent. So now we're back to just about 2/3 of the screen, and that will be just about right for this experiment. So we're going to hit OK, and then we're going to hit Start. We're going to ask Keegan to perform an isometric contraction while holding the table, and we will see that both the triceps and the biceps will activate. So go ahead and perform an external extension for me, and then let's see a flexion. Isometric. Excellent. So as you can see where he was activating his tricep, we have a strong signal, and while he's not, the bicep has none, but then when he activated his bicep, we have a strong signal, and we're lacking a tricep. For that wraps up the setup for this first part of the lab. We will bring you the second part in just a few moments. And welcome back to our Powerlab EMG lab. We're going to now go over the second part of this lab, in which we have an evoked EMG signal. So to do this, we're going to externally stimulate a person's pollicis muscle, adductor pollicis muscle, so that we can see a muscle twitch. For this lab, it is the exact same setup as part one, except what you will be doing is we will be disconnecting one of the two channels that we have, because we're only going to need one muscle tracking this for this experiment. So just go ahead and unplug carefully these leads. Do not pull on the cable, because they will just pull out from the adapter. Make sure that you're pulling from the actual connection site. So that leaves us with our earth strap and one channel of black and white leads. So for this next experiment, we're going to make sure the box is on and that our subject is ready. So we're going to put on our earth strap first, once again, on our subject's left wrist this time, as we did, making sure it's snug and has full contact with the subject's wrist at all times, fuzzy side in. And then from here, we're going to open up the EMG settings. So we're going to go down here once again into our Windows menu. Down here in the search bar, we're going to type in EMG settings. And once again, the first three files are the ones we're looking for. The EMG evoked setting is the one we're looking for. The first time we're looking for voluntary. We're going to click on that, and we're going to open up the Powerlab system. It's going to say something is wrong, but it's not, so we're going to hit OK. And we're going to maximize this window. So after we've done that, we're going to turn back to our subject and prep him for this experiment. So first things first is we're going to take our external stimulator cable. It is this cable in a box that has alternating red and black wires that are twisted around each other. We're going to leave these wires twisted and as it is, and we're going to plug these into the front side of the box. So on the front side of the box, we're going to see in the middle here, we're going to see a red and a black port. Those correspond fancily with these exact adapters. So we're going to put the red adapter in the red spot, and we're going to put the black connector in the black spot. So then, to make sure that our subjects are safe, they have equipped a separate power switch for the stimulator alone. So we're going to have to flip this from the off position to the on position so that we can make sure that stimulator will work when the time comes. So next we're going to set up how we're going to track the EMG on our subject's pollicis muscle. We're going to take the same lead electrodes we did last time, except we're going to cut them down as I have here, and as you can see, due to the size of the area we're working with, we must decrease the size of the electrodes. So just as we did in the first part, we're going to connect the leads to the electrode before putting it on the subject. That way we don't have to mash into the person's skin or pinch them as we're trying to apply these. So we're going to connect the white adapter here, or lead there to that electrode, and we're going to put it on the outside of that muscle as far away as we can from the center of the muscle belly. And then we're going to connect the black lead to the electrode first, and then remove that and put it on the subject. Now this one we can't go necessarily 3 to 5 centimeters away, but we will go as far as we can without the electrode, or close as we can without the electrodes actually touching each other. So for me, that's about right there. So we're going to put these on, give them some good pressure because of the curvature of the wrist here, or the thumb. And once those are on, we are complete. So to find the nerve that's going to stimulate, we have to find the median nerve. To find the median nerve, typically it's in the center of one's wrist. This can change just as we all look different on the outside, we are different on the inside. So we may have to shift a little laterally or medially depending on the person that you have. And this will change from subject to subject. So what we're going to do for this experiment is we're going to move our lead cables out of the way, and we're going to make room for this to go onto our subject. And we're going to carefully place these on his wrist so that we can make sure we have stimulation. So we're just going to put that there for now, and then we're going to modify our lab settings because now our subject is all set up for this experiment. Over here, we're going to... Alright, so to alter the settings for this stimulator, it says we're going to go up here to the Set Up tab. We're going to have that drop down. And halfway down, we're going to see this stimulator selection option. We're going to select that, and it's going to bring up this window. Several things we have to do in this window. We have to turn the stimulator on in this tab, and also, so depending on your subject, we may have to alter the strength of this signal in microamps, and so that would be down here at the very bottom. It has a range of 0 to 20. So we're going ahead and turn this up to about 10 to start with our subject, and we're going to go from there. So next what we're going to do is this stimulator will stimulate due to our settings when we hit the start button on the screen. So as we do this, we're going to ask the subject to hold this down with their opposite hand firmly into their wrist so that we make sure that we're sending a good signal all the way through. So we're going to hit start, and we're going to see if we can get any signal from our subject. So as we saw, we did have a small twitch in his thumb, that right there, and so we are apparently on the median nerve. Some ways that we can correct this if we are having problems is we can try, as I said earlier, shifting this medially or laterally depending on the location of this nerve. We can also try twisting it diagonally so we hit a larger area. And if all of those fail and we cannot get a signal, we can finally go to trying a conduction gel. Conductive gel, what we'll do is we'll just take a small dab of it, put the cap back on, and we will apply it to these two small electric metal bits on the bottom side of this. So we'll just smear a little bit on there, smear a little bit on there, and then we will reapply it to the subject's wrist. This will make sure that the maximum signal is going through to our subject from there, and it decreases the resistance from the skin. So you will continue to try this until you get a proper alignment, and it can be frustrating, so stick with it. You will find it, and if absolutely necessary, ask your professor for some help. Thank you, and that is the Powerlab Invoked